nice place.
My God, you are growing up. It's a very nice place. Since when did you start saying dumb things like that? When I knew you, Edward, you always spoke your mind. You came to the point.
Oh. Okay. So the point is my father.
I've plugged it in. I think you'll find it makes very little difference. The last few weeks it's been so damp I find you can hardly see it. You know, here we even have indoor fog. You sit on that side of the room and you peer thinking, I'm sure it's on, I'm sure the fire is on, but you can't actually see. Do you want tea?
No, thank you.
Hi, I'm Tasmin and you're watching Curtain Call for Hi TV. I'm the Artistic Director for Studio Illusion and we're excited to present StarLite by David Hare this April. StarLite is an award-winning script by one of the greatest British playwrights currently working. It's this very intense but also light and witty and moving play about two former lovers who still care very deeply about each other, but they come from very different backgrounds right now, and this is a moment where they are essentially seeing whether they can reconnect, whether they can rekindle a moment in their lives that meant a lot to them, and it comes to a point where it's essentially it's a moment where they need to find a way to connect with each other if they're going to make their story work, or they need to find a way to coexist together. But if they can't, then that's just not going to work out.
Well, okay, why don't you just tell me what it is you came to say?
I'm not sure of what you know. Did you know that my mother had died?
I knew she had cancer. How long ago?
It's about a year now.
A year?
Yeah. Dad hasn't told you.
I haven't spoken to him.
That's why I came here today. I wasn't passing by.
No.
I don't suppose anyone does, pass by this area. Unless I suppose they're desperate to get from South Wilston to South Finchley, which I can't imagine most people are. Yeah.
This story brings together three characters that are in the moment of the play in very different places in their life, and it shows sort of how they connect so well together in kind of moments of affection, and they're sort of enveloped in each other, and it also shows how their differences kind of really also drive them apart, and they really clash, and that clash is kind of very obvious to the audience.
I mean, you lost your parents.
Yeah, I did. My dad recently. My mother died when she was young. I hardly knew her.
Like once they're dead, I find they keep changing, like you think you've got a hold of them. And it's like you say, oh, I see, so that's what she was like. But then they change again in your memory, and it drives you crazy.
Hello, my name is Akmal Hamid, and I'm part of the play StarLite, which is a three-man play. It's a first for me because I've never been a part of a play where I have not interacted with all of the characters, because for this one in particular, I don't interact with my own father, my character's father, rather. I just get to, because, like, okay, the thing is, my character is just present for like 2 scenes. It's really interesting how my scenes in particular are placed, because they sort of hover around the main plot while not exactly engaging with it, but rather it sort of looms over the 2 main prospects of the play, which are Kira and Tom, my father and my mother figure in the play.
Now I'd like to just find out just who she was.
Alice.
Yeah, but also it's had an effect on my father.
Why, surely.
I mean, if you see him, I mean, I'd love it. I mean, if you did.
Why?
Because he's changed.
And?
I'm guessing I think you can help him.
Hi, my name is Rehan Almeida, and I will be portraying the role of Tom Sargent and in StarLite. Exciting prospect. It's a very interesting role. I mean, it's a very interesting character I've been asked to play. Very different from some of the other roles that I've had to encounter previously. Very challenging in the sense that he is, I mean, not, I would say, in other words, he's an extremely flawed character, which I think is very interesting to play also. There are many aspects of him that when you look at it from an objective point of view, it's very, I suppose, hard to relate to. But he is very much a person who lives in his own bubble, going through a very tough time of life, essentially looking at a person who has broken down and is unable to deal with his guilt, unable to deal with you know, the reality of what has happened, the tragedy that has happened in his life by losing his wife.
I don't mean to downgrade it, but Alice was dying. All right, I accept that. But she was just grabbing. You know, that's what it was. There was nothing real. If you asked her what it was, there was nothing solid. She was just grabbing. If you asked her what's happening, what's out there, what's real, she couldn't say. She was always faddish, and you know, she just couldn't say what it was.
Well, but Tom, surely that's not so unusual.
I know.
I mean, people die that way. Most people die in that state. Not knowing, half knowing. Surely it's what you'd expect.
I don't know. I mean, I could see that the room was beautiful. It was a beautiful room. I don't mean to sound wholly facetious, but, you know, I spent a great deal. You know, I had all that glass, all that sandalwood floor, the greenery, the sky, the light. I gave her everything.
What are you saying?
I don't know.
StarLite is a story about two former lovers who reconnect after 3 years apart, just to find that their views and their backgrounds are completely different from each other. And it's a moment where essentially both care very deeply about each other, but whether or not their story can actually continue or happen right now in their current state depends on whether they can find a way to coexist with each other.
What you're saying is, the two of you never got straight.
No.
What you mean is, you never got over your guilt.
Guilt. That's another word. All right, I admit it. At the end, Alice and I both knew that our time was over. We both knew. No, but instead of reproaching me, Alice, you know, just being her, she withdrew. And the effect was to make me feel worse than I actually, you know, if she stood up and fought.
I picked this play because when I was reading through it, I felt that it was very easy to connect with, especially in today's sort of, one, in today's dating landscape, two, also just in the economic situation that we find ourselves in, because so the play is set in this very run-down apartment, and it's essentially about these actually 3 characters who come from a place of privilege, and it explores how these 3 different people actually look at the working class. They look at how people deal with a moment when life is actually not that great, and it looks at what each of them finds worth dedicating their lives towards. So, for example, Tom is a very wealthy businessman, and Kira, who is the lead, she is, to boil it down, she's sort of a good Samaritan. So Kira, for all intents and purposes, is a good Samaritan who dedicates her life towards making other people's lives better.
She kept saying, no, Tom, you go on, you get on with your life, don't mind me, forget about me, I'm happy with my gardening, with my reading. Christ. Gardening. If I could make that illegal, I would.
It is very challenging, and how he tries to figure out a way forward in his life and tries to rekindle an old flame that he has. It's a very interesting piece, StarLite. It's a play by David Hare. He's a playwright who has gained a lot of acclaim and prominence as of late, and it's got many layers to it. It's very wordy, which is challenging, but it deals with politics. It deals with capitalism, socialism, and all of this narrated through the concepts of love, guilt, dealing with those aspects of life. So it's a very interesting interweaving of, let's say, emotions, time and place. It's set in the 90s, so it's very much contextualized to mid-90s England and what happened at that point of time.
That's something I never quite understood. I still don't. You never felt a slightest sense of betrayal.
There we are. I was always profoundly at peace. I don't know why, but it still seems true to me. If you have a love which, for any reason, you can't talk about, your heart is with someone you can't admit not to a single soul except for the person involved, then for me that is love at its purest. For as long as it lasts, it's this astonishing achievement, because it is always a relationship founded in trust.
Being in this particular production is really interesting because it's the first contemporary play that I've ever been in that is written by a English playwright, and I sort of had to get used to the dynamics of these various characters and how and in what context they're placed in. For example, this play is set in the 80s, 70s England, so I had to just really be comfortable with being present in that context, in that society, and had to get sort of used to the various dynamics and social constructs at the time, and not really and really forget about Sri Lanka's context, which is ironic because there is a sort of similar taste and content to the two societies.
Seems bloody mad to me.
I knew you didn't feel it. I knew you never understood it. Why I was able to go on seeing Alice. Why I loved her so much. But I did. It is a fact. You were the person I fell in love with, and as it happens, you arrived with a wife. Do you mind?
Do I mind what?
I'm just asking.
What?
Will you grate the cheese?
And my character in particular, I think Kira, she's at the moment of the play 30, but at this point she has left behind her very middle class, fun, exciting life where she had met and fallen in love with Tom. And till very later on in the play you don't really know what has made her leave. And what's even more interesting is that she has left her life into a very different place in the town, and she has now sort of committed her whole life to helping people from a very poor, tough backgrounds, and no one really understands why she has left behind this life to live in such kind of questionable conditions, which drives the other character mad, pretty much.
Do you mean this?
Yes, I do.
Are you serious? Is this what you're actually calling the cheese?
Yes, I couldn't go shopping.
Kira, I wouldn't give this greasy lump of crud to my cat. I mean, come on, let's be serious. Are you actually living like this? Are you really living like this? Why didn't you tell me? I mean, I know this really great supplier.
I'm sure.
For cheese, for all kinds of cheese, I can get you a weekly delivery. I've got this really great bloke.
Of course, your whole life is great blokes.
Oh, come on. I could get you a weekly delivery whenever you need, a fresh Parmesan. Just call and he'll bring it for you.
Nevertheless,
I'm going to call Frank. What are you doing?
eating the sauce. I'm starving. We never had supper, remember?
My God, I'm sorry. What time is it?
I think 2:30.
I must say.
It's no problem. I must have fallen asleep as well.
So this play, just a bit of insight for the audience is that this play is not sort of the ordinary play that we're used to seeing. There's no sort of big action, or it's not extremely comedic, what we're used to, but it does have something else, which is that it has a lot of intimacy and it has a lot of emotion and it has a lot of striking language that carries the play from the start to the end. And in the span of what is essentially 24 hours, the audience gets a glimpse of how these characters sort of unravel in front of each other, and you see this unraveling of love, but also loss and that pain of loss as well.
I know it sounds crazy, but I love it. It's like an addiction. And the more I listen, the more it strikes me. What extraordinary courage, what perseverance most people need just to get on with their lives.
Huh.
In a way, I think I got lucky.
Lucky.
Yes, I met this fantastic Nigerian friend, Adele. She's the one who found me this place.
So it's a very interesting script as well. It is a challenge to bring a script like this to life. It's just two characters anytime on stage for a fair amount of time. It will come to about 2.5 hours, I think. So it is a challenge to keep the audience gripped in, but we find it quite gripping ourselves at just being part of it. So we're looking forward to that very much. Working on this project has been a great challenge. Very interesting. I've known Ayodhya for some time. Just getting to know Tasmin and Akmal, of course, for the first time.
StarLite by David Ayer, directed by Tasmin Anthony's, will be shown in the Punchi theatres April 4th, 5th, 6th. Ticket prices are 2,500 for the downstairs area and 2,000 rupees for the balcony.
Yeah, I skipped all that for a reason.
Yes, that reason.
Yeah.
That reason, okay. This teaching, you enjoy this teaching?
Okay. So it's
StarLite will be presented on the 4th, 5th and 6th of April at the Punchi Theatre. For more information, please follow Studio Illusion on Instagram.
no hurry.
Of course.
If you let me know by, say, Friday, that's just a joke, all right?